All right. So do we know how to tell people to go there? Okay. Did you find it? So, if anyone's watching now, we have been streaming to Twitch, but for some reason Twitch isn't working today, so we're switching over to YouTube. So, hello. Um, we're new here, over here at the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. What is? Like I don't even know how to find our page. Have you found the video? So, because we can't even tell if any, like, neither of us are even on the video yet, so there could be, there's probably no one watching yet, but there could be 300 people watching, and they're like, what is happening here? Oh my goodness, this is ridiculous. Let's see if I can figure it out. So, if anyone is watching, we are going to be discussing Solo, a Star Wars story, in just a few minutes. We are the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. We're trying a live stream thing now, and now there's dogs barking. This is just a professional setup, you know. Let's see. Let me check out our creator studio. Yeah, it says we're the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast is our channel name. Link. I don't know how to. What's a link? Okay. Oh, look! I found our live stream. Hey, it looks like we're actually streaming. All right. Let's see. I'm clicking on it. You see us? Are you seeing what I'm seeing? All right. So, oh, you did find us? Great. If you can share us, that'd be awesome. Because we're about to actually start this thing. This is insane. We are starting an hour and 4 minutes late. I am ready to go. I also can't watch it for some reason, so who knows? Who knows why? Who knows why? Probably because my computer's already doing too much. All right. Next time we should be able to do both at the same time. Okay, Jeffrey, are you ready to talk about Star Wars: A Solo Story? Solo, a Star Wars story. Star Wars: A Solo Story. Yeah. For some reason your head's getting cut off again. Yep. Okay. It's fine. Okay. You ready? Announce us whenever you're ready there, Jeff. Shit, hold on. For some reason my computer went it went into rest mode or whatever, and I'm like, why? You're recording. Why are you doing that? Okay. It's time. Little Jeff. Gotta kill the little Jeffs. Kill all the little Jeffs. Okay. I'm ready when you are, Jeffrey. Alright, put on your game face. Cast actually starts now. To be fair, we're not sure of that. This could just be a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Eventually, I'm going to get that music to play from the live stream. And maybe we, ooh, yeah, we should do like a video thing where it like comes in and like spins the logo and like, yeah, yeah, it's gonna be badass. Okay, welcome to the Marvel Cinematic. Talked over me. Just kidding, it's fine. Um, welcome to the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. My name is Matthew Carroll. Jeff Randall, are you ready to venture outside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe today? Yeah, and time period. Yeah. This is we did this last week with Deadpool. First time really going outside of the cinematic universe. Now we're gonna do it again with another bonus episode for Solo: A Star Wars Story. Um, so, what did you think of Solo: A Star Wars Story? Let's go spoiler free for a minute to kind of give everybody a little bit of time to turn off if they want to, and also just talk about it. What do you think? Yeah, yeah. I had a similar reaction. To just dig into the Harrison Ford thing. As much as I enjoyed this movie, I really did. I liked this movie a lot. It was a lot of fun. I never felt like he was Han Solo. Like, are you? Yes, he was. To me, okay. Do you know the? I forget what they call it, and this is bad because I'm not able to think of the name of the theory. But have you ever heard the theory that like the best protagonists are ones that are sort of blank? Luke Skywalker, the Everyman theory, yeah, that's fine. Harry Potter's boring. Luke Skywalker's boring. They're like the neutral mask. That's what it's called. It's called the neutral mask. Um, because he's in a way Han Solo, at least in the first one and probably throughout all of them, he's not the protagonist. He's a protagonist, but he's not our entrance into the universe. In this movie, he had to be our entrance into the universe because he is the protagonist, and I felt like he was our neutral mask, and every other character was more interesting than him. I mean, exactly. So it just didn't feel like Han Solo. Um, just to give everybody some context, not a big Star Wars fan myself. I like it, but I don't love it, and so I don't even have like the strongest like. I'm not even. It doesn't even bother me that it's not that much on Solo, but I still, even as an outsider on the whole fandom, um, I don't even care, or like. It bothered me that it's not Han Solo. It didn't feel like Han Solo. Still doesn't. The world felt like Star Wars. It really did. But this character felt like Luke Skywalker. His voice is well, and that's his voice. I'm an audio person. I'm a musician, and I live through audio. And they tried hard to make him look like Han Solo, and he worked on the facial expressions, obviously, and all that good stuff. But he did not sound like Han Solo. Han Solo has like sort of a gruff old man voice. And I realize this is a younger version, but how much younger is he supposed to be? Do we know? Oh, okay. So it is substantial. See, I was at the end when they're talking. Well, I don't want to spoil. At the end, there's some things that made me think it might be sooner than that. Um, but that's interesting. Okay, that gives me a little more. Okay, that gives me a little more. Makes me feel a little better about it. But I still just never. It never. He never felt like Han Solo to me. Yes, I. Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree with that. It's just. They kind of tried to have their cake and eat it too, and we'll dig into more of that. But ignoring the fact that I never really felt like it was Han Solo, this movie was really fun. It's a really good Star Wars movie. One of my favorites. And as again, there's only so well. I mean, we're getting one a year. It's starting to not feel that way anymore. What are there? There's 10 now. There's 10. That's a lot. That's not right. There's 10 major Star Wars movies. That's not nothing to sneeze at anymore. It used to be like there's only 6 movies. It's not like the biggest franchise. Part of me was like I'm a big canon guy. I love deep canon. We've talked about this a million times. I love deep, hot, wet canon, and the God, that's right. That's right. I love that deep continuity, and for me, it's one of the reasons Star Wars was never very interesting because it was like I knew there were books, but you never know if books are gonna. Well, I know I read tons of Star Trek, um, but a lot of times the books, and I ended up being correct, aren't canon, and they were always this sort of like, especially in Star Wars, it was always like this is kind of canon, this is not really canon. I think Luke, George, I almost called him Luke Skywalker, George, George R. Skywalker, whatever. Um, he he even used to say there were like different levels of canon, like yeah, he had this whole stratification of canon where like these are actually canon, these could be canon, and these are outside of canon, but they're all in the Star Wars universe, and it's like no, just make yourself a tight universe. Yeah, you got to decide what's in there. So that's part of the reason it never interested me. I'm more interested now that they're tightening it up. They're deciding what is canon, and they threw out a bunch of stuff, and I hate that for all the Star Wars fans. J.J. Abrams is the destroyer of worlds. He destroyed tons of Star Trek canon, and now he's destroying Star Wars canon. I don't know what world he'll try to destroy next. Um, but anyway, movie was yeah. Um, so yeah, Avengers 10 is going to be J.J. Abrams Avengers, which is just all brand new actors and everything. Um, okay, so great movie. I really like this movie. Does if I were a bigger Star Wars fan, I might be pissed off at the characterization of Han Solo. I'm not, but I understand those who are because it's just still doesn't feel like Han Solo. Totally understandable. Um, yeah, well, is he upset at the Last Jedi or is he upset at this movie? Right. This is not the same. This is not the same. These are not the. This is not the Star Wars I'm looking for. Um, but I did like this movie. I can't say it any other way. I'm not being a big Star Wars fan and not really caring about the strict characterizations or and the continuity, which unlike me, um, these newer movies have felt good to me, and this one particularly. Honestly, I think this one and Rogue One might be my favorites. Rogue One was great, and this one was great. I did. There were some leftover moments I felt like from the Lord and Miller directing that I could kind of tell. Just some of it felt like the Lord and Miller versus Ron Howard thing, right? You know about the whole. I guess to catch up our listeners, which I'm sure none of them are oblivious to this if they're listening to this cast probably, but Lord and Miller, the people who directed a Lego Movie, another kind of fun fare like that, were directing this movie, and um, they were fired and replaced by Ron Howard, and it was said that their stuff was too silly. It was the words Ace Ventura were mentioned. Um, yeah, they said it just wasn't turning out like the movie they wanted it to be, and I think Ron Howard did an amazing job salvaging that. If that was the case, if this movie felt like this did not feel like Ace Ventura. This felt very much like Star Wars. Um, but there were moments, there were little glimpses of moments where like just a certain line was a little too silly or a little too out there, and I was like, I think that might have been a Lord Miller moment because they had finished principal photography on this movie. It was done. This movie was in the can, so to speak, and then they replaced the directors, and then they reshot a ton of it. So, but they didn't reshoot everything. So there's certain parts that like I don't know, it just felt like a little bit different. Like the characters shifted a little bit. Donald Glover was amazing. Yeah, for sure. He's becoming. I mean, between between Atlanta season finale just ending, and then This Is America being such a fire music video, and him playing Lando, he is breaking through like nobody's business. Um, right, right. I think that was his real breakout role right there. Um, so let's dive in to um, some spoilers. I think it's time for spoilers. Um, right. I feel like it's probably your Star Wars. It's just not your Han Solo. Personally, I don't think. Yeah, if you go in like this is just a story of a dude, then it's a really good story. And I, if you go in feeling like that or looking for that, if you're looking for just a good little tale, it's great. But as a I don't know if they successfully told the Solo story. And they did leave enough, plenty of room for a sequel, and maybe they'll like bridge the gap between this character and the um, and the Han Solo character. But as of now, it just doesn't feel like my Han Solo, you know. So, oh, for sure, and they've already they're already talking about it. So I think it will happen. Probably in short order. It's probably one of the next things they'll do. Um, Donald Glover was so much fun. I loved L3. His droid was wonderful. So good. Well, the actress. Marker. Okay, that name sounds familiar, but I'm not real familiar with her. Cool. Oh, okay. Oh, I think I know who she is. I recognized her voice, and I just wasn't sure where I knew her from. Yeah, yeah. I've just watched all of Crashing, so okay, neat. Okay. Well, she was great. Just the character was wonderful. She addressed some issues that many of us have been talking about in Star Wars for a long time. Uh, yeah, she addressed that in a way that was super fun. Let's get into spoilers before we trip into it accidentally. Um, if you're joining us for the first time, we're the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. We would love it if you would reach out to us at mcucast.com, at mcucast on Twitter, facebook.com/mcucast, mcucast everywhere basically. We're the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast on YouTube, mcucast on Twitch, and yeah, just find us. We're everywhere podcasts are sold. But also, we're starting to do this live stream thing. So find us on Twitch, find us on YouTube, and you can subscribe. But now it's time for spoilers. So spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Right? That surprised me a lot. I was like hitting my girlfriend, like, hey, look who it is, and do you know? Yeah, in a good way, Yeah, so like, look who it is. Um, so totally shocked by that. I understand that he has been returning in the Rebels TV series. Okay. Okay. I need to look at all that. So apparently he's been out in the world building up a crime syndicate. That's awesome. Right. Right. Well, I don't know when does that happen. Gotcha. Yeah, that may be too spoilery. Um, yeah, I didn't want to know it. So this is happening somewhere in between all of that. Interesting. That's really cool. I like that they brought him back into the movies after he's been in the TV series. You know, being again this is the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast, we talk a lot about continuity and connectivity between the universes and the TV universe and the movie universe. And uh, Marvel has had a bit of an issue bringing TV characters into the movies. Even ones who started in the movies went to TV and haven't been back. So it's interesting that they were able to bring him back into the movies. I think that's awesome. I've heard that. Yeah, I really need to watch Rebels and Clone Wars, but I tried to watch it and it just was too childlike for me at first. I've heard it gets better, but I just haven't dug in to the point where I really enjoyed it. Um, okay, got it. Um, so what else do we want to talk about spoiler wise? I feel like it's hard to spoil this movie because they really kind of painted by numbers. Like they did the Kessel Run, they fixed the Kessel Run, which is great. Um, in the original Star Wars, he says, "I ran the Kessel Run, or this ship ran the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs," which makes sense, but I think, and when I think when George Lucas wrote that, he was thinking it was a measurement of time. Like legit, I don't think he realized that parsecs was a measurement of distance when he wrote that down. Um, and for forever we've been discussing what that could mean, and I've always said it had to have been some sort of like dangerous environment where you normally have to go around it or a certain route, and he went straight through it. Like that makes sense. That sounds like Han Solo. Um, and that's exactly what they did. They gave him like a really dangerous environment. Um, I felt super bad for that space being they killed. Yeah, I get it. It was a big thing trying to eat you, and you got to do what you got to do. But that was rough. That poor thing. Yeah, it's in its natural environment. You're invading. Yeah, exactly. I feel like Star Wars for a universe where they do a lot of like, hey, this guy's big and green, this girl's big and blue, or like this person has tentacles, whatever. For a world where that happens all the time, it is strange to me that they don't think about these huge creatures as life forms. um, they're just like, I don't know. It just seems strange to me. Like in Star Trek, if they meet a big thing in space, they don't just kill it. Like, yeah, if it's trying to kill them, they might be forced to, but generally they'll try to find a peaceful resolution. In Star Wars, it's just like, and I mean, I get it. These are a bunch of smugglers. These aren't like Federation officers or Imperial officers or whatever. Um, they don't. Right. They don't have the luxury of, you know, like maybe they don't have the luxury of such morality in the Star Wars universe. Uh, well, see, if you kind of think about it, Star Trek and Star Wars, like the Empire is kind of the Federation of the Star Wars universe. It's just a completely different take on what that means. No, no, I think it's interesting that like you're looking at it from different perspectives. You're looking at it from like if you're looking at it from the ground and the big government is mistreating you, then you're like looking at the Star Wars universe. But if you're looking at it from that government perspective, and and legitimately they're run by you know a different sort of ethos, of course. The Empire is like all about bringing peace to everyone by any means necessary, mostly war. Is That's what they say in this movie. That they're on the battlefield. They're like, "We're bringing peace to the galaxy." um, with this war that we're bringing them. Yeah. Whereas the Federation is obviously not doing that. They're doing it through diplomacy. So it's a different case, but it's still kind of the same sort of like you can imagine there are situations in Star Trek where there are certain like organizations or whatever like they're generally considered terrorists who are like there's a terrorist organization called the Maquis who is trying to stop the Federation's expansion, and it's just interesting that's kind of the rebels like so I don't know just kind of a fun like uh, brain tickler. Oh yeah. You love to hate him. Yeah. And it also reminds me of Firefly, which is much more on the Star Wars side of things, where you've got the rebels. but that's like after the war. I don't know. It it's all the same sort of the Alliance in Firefly, the Empire, and the and Federation are all kind of just like the big government body running over everything. You know, it's just it's interesting. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let's. We already talked about Donald Glover and how great he was, and L3 and her. Um, no, we didn't, and it was great. She took one inhibitor off one robot, or restrictor, or whatever they're called, restraining bolts. Like, and it so good. It was so good. Stomping all over the console and just breaking all the knobs and buttons. I really, really loved it. That was an awesome scene. And her death was super sad, especially through the eyes of Lando. Um, yeah, it it definitely seemed like it, and it actually her becoming part of the ship was kind of poetic and beautiful. But it also made me sad at the end of the movie when Han Solo won the ship. I was like, yeah, like that's his ship. So much his ship, this robot that he obviously loved, at least as much as you can love a robot, and it seems like more than most of us can. Um, he just like took his ship away, and his robot was part of the ship. That yeah, that seemed odd. Yeah, for sure. It did add to the beauty of the Millennium Falcon. I mean, the Millennium Falcon has been such a huge part of the story. In a They made it a huge part of the Force Awakens. They also made it a huge part of this movie. First time you see it, obviously, it's Han Solo's movie. When Han Solo and Chewie first sit together, that was an awesome moment. Um, it's just really, really fun. Really, really fun to watch this stuff happen. Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely not the first time, but there have been moments in a lot of the movies where he like picks someone up and throws them or bashes them or whatever. But this definitely afforded him a lot more screen time, honestly. Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, yeah. Just try to make a Wookiee noise. Just try to make a Wookiee noise. Um, yeah, he. Sorry, I had to work on the other computer for a second. Ooh, yeah, I'm working on it. So I loved his love interest in this movie. Oh, what's her name? What was her name in the movie? Kira. What's her name in real life? Something Clark. Amelia Clark. That's it. Yes, I know her from that very well. But she was great in this. and I want to see more of her. And they have set her up, I feel like, to be maybe even in more of the movies going forward than Han Solo. Like, if they could easily make more movies where she's a prevalent character. Um, and you talked about this is before he gets hurt. This is before the world kind of drags him down. And I think this is the beginning of that world dragging him down, particularly when she decides to leave him. Yeah. Um, she seizes her she seizes her opportunity to move up in the ranks instead of trying to disappear with him, which is what their plan was all along. It was pretty painful, but that's part of my problem. Is I feel like that could have been the moment when he like takes on more of a gruff exterior, and maybe Chewie and him have a conversation, and in that conversation he's like he kind of takes on a little more of that deeper sort of gruff. He could have like had it. They could have written something there where he like stops being the plucky hero. You know, he was plucky. I know, but that's the problem. Is he was a plucky hero in this movie, and that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like this whole thing with him being a little too Luke Skywalker and a little not Han Solo enough. That could have been the moment where he like adopted that sort of like a darker persona because he just had the whole hope that he's had for his love this whole time has just been ripped away from him. And I thought that was going to be what they were doing with it. But then after she disappears, he's just like, "Let's go to Tatooine," and he still just sounds so like doop doo doo doo. I hear there's a boss looking for some work or looking for a smuggler. It just still sounded like he was so sold on his own legend and his own like story that he did not grieve the way I wanted him to grieve for her leaving. You know? Yeah. Yeah. No, that was one really interesting about the movie is we know he goes on to be with Leia, so something has to happen here to pull her away. And I thought it was probably going to be her death, especially after she vouched for him. I was like, oh, she just vouched for him with Dryden, who was yeah. So I think that was Dryden like saying, yeah, you're part of this. You're part of this, and like you vouched for him. You're part of the mission. If it fails, you're also a failure. And even worse, she betrayed him. Yeah, really an intense little. I really loved all of the twists and turns of the story there. You know. I don't think I don't think that. I don't see why. I don't see any reason why that's even like on the agenda. I mean, sure, it makes sense time. No, it doesn't even make sense time wise, right? I mean, yeah, she'd have to be pretty old when she had her, because this is that's true. That's true. Yeah, it could be, but I don't see why I worry about it. I don't. Are you one of the people? Okay, let's get into this. Are you one of the people that's mad at Last Jedi for taking away her parentage? So you're one of the people who's still waiting on her parentage. I don't. I love what Kylo Ren said. I hope it's true. I really hope it's true. It's possible that it's not. I agree with you that it could be Kylo Ren being a dick, but Star Wars has always been this sort of weird patriarchy where there's this like if you're not a Skywalker, you're not that important. like like yeah, and that's sort of an old thing. And I love in Last Jedi something that I love about that movie is that it takes all of that and it says, "No, that's not why you're powerful. The Force has chosen you to be powerful." It basically undoes a lot of that metachlorian bullshit. Like if people talk about the whole like science of the whole metachlorian thing being bad, but that's kind of makes sense if you're worrying about it being all about parentage. It's kind of the same thing to me. It's like you inherit. Yeah, exactly. Like I'd rather it be the Force is a mystical like a mystical entity that is choosing people to balance itself it needs, and it needed someone, and Rey is the one it chose regardless of her parentage. Like I think that's something beautiful and egalitarian about that. That all the other Star Wars movies, which were made in a different time, and I think they're sort of a result of that different time, they sort of rely on this idea of parentage, which creates some interesting. It creates some interesting interplay between father and son, but that I feel like that's yeah. I mean, like partially, and I'm not saying it can never happen again, or you can never have a good father and son or mother daughter story, or mother son whatever. Um, you can have all kinds of stories, but I feel like that was the story Lucas wanted to tell, and it was a great story. But in the new age of Star Wars, if you keep everyone has to be inherited of some, everyone has to be the uh, everyone has to be the descendant of someone else, and like just like I love that Ryan Johnson in writing that movie was just like, no, let's like throw off the shackles of all that idea, and now she's just like she's powerful because the Force chose her, and she has a destiny even though she comes from nothing. And I love that idea, and it ties into the little boy at the end who's sweeping the floors and looks up at the stars. Like it ties into that idea that they're inspiring this like you know new generation of force sensitive people to do their thing. Like I don't know. It's hard. I haven't really thought much about it, so it's not on the tip of my brain. Yeah, so I'm a little stumbly because I'm really just like I said, I'm not a huge Star Wars guy, but that's one thing I really liked about that movie is that it took away the whole like inherited parentage matters da 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 da, and it took it more modern. Honestly, like these days we don't believe that. We believe that you can do whatever you want. Yeah, we that's what we want to believe at least, and I think that like I like that Star Wars is embracing that idea. Right. Okay. I I just don't see a reason to worry about that because I don't think there's like strong evidence for them wanting to do that. But I also don't see why it would be necessarily if they decide to make her a parent. Like I could kind of seeing it being a good like reason or someone to pick. I don't know. What is it because she's not force sensitive that we know of? Is that part of the why? Of the why? Yeah. Right. Right. Well, but that you don't know the circumstances. Like, she could have given up her child because someone is going to kill her child. Like, she could have a mark, like, say, 15 years from now, or whatever, she has a child. I think it had to be more than that. It had to be 20 years, whatever. She has a child, and there's a mark on her head because it would be really easy for her to have a mark on her head because of all this whatever. The crime syndicate goes down. She's marked for death. Someone's going to kill her and her entire family, and the only way to escape that is to hide her child on this planet. And that's the only thing she has. She like barely knows this Plutarch guy because he like has worked with her doing some sort of salvage job in the past or something, and she's like, this is the only thing in the quad place in this sector of space I know anyone, and I need to hide her, and I'll come back for her. And she hides her and gets off the planet and gets murdered. Like, she could still be a sympathetic character, at least an understandable character, and have a reason to leave her daughter. Sure, yeah. There's no way they're gonna have. There's no way they're gonna just have her give her up willingly. If that's the case. Yeah, but there's a difference. There's a difference between like betraying someone who betraying your ex-boyfriend and betraying your child are two very different things. We think of Han as the hero, but to her, he's just her ex-boyfriend who's kind of naive. Like that's who she thinks of Han as. Her naive ex-boyfriend, and she's using him to level up in the organization. Um, she's not a sympathetic character, really. I mean, she is. Right. Well, yeah, but it's been a bit of a 3 years for her. Right. I love that she shows up by herself. I love that she got herself out in whatever way she did. And that whole scene is so fraught and so interesting. And she says, he's like, I can't. I'm so glad you got out. And she says, I didn't. Which is rough to hear. It's super. It hurts. It hurts. It does. So I don't know. I really like this movie a lot. I think it was really cool. Yes. No, no. There was definitely a. Well, it was culturally aware, but it was interesting because this is a different culture where you don't have I thought about that too during the movie. In this world, the black people aren't subjugated. The droids are. Like, there's a lot of people who are subjugated in this universe. The Wookiees as well, and a lot of these different slave races, sort of things happening, as particularly by the Empire. Um, Darn humans. But it doesn't seem that black people are being you know uh, downtrodden in this universe. So, or in this galaxy. So it is interesting to have him looking, Donald Glover, who's a very woke individual, looking at L3 and being like, "Oh gosh, you and your equal rights." Um, there's her little rant on equal rights. Yeah, I thought that was fun. I thought that was a fun little twist on that whole thing. Um, great movie. I really enjoyed it. I just and you notice all this talking we've done, we've barely talked about Han Solo, and I think that's the way when you talk about Star Wars, it's kind of the same thing. The only time that Luke gets interesting is is he gonna go to the dark side? His choices aren't interesting, except for there's a few very key choices, and it's always about like, is he making the right decision to move toward the light or the dark? Like that's his whole arc, and that's all you really care about. But like Han It's just like every little thing he does is interesting because he's this side character who is not our representative. He's the character that is not us in the story. And in this story he was us. He's the neutral mask and he's not just not Han Solo to me. Yeah, let's hear what people are saying. Yeah. I don't think he did a bad job of playing this character in this movie at all. Yeah, that's for me. For me, that's how I feel. But yeah, no, I think I enjoyed every moment he's on screen. He was fun to watch, and so were all the other characters. But it just he felt like the neutral mask to me, and that's not what Han Solo is supposed to be. At least not at the end of the movie. And maybe this is the beginning of a solo trilogy, and we're gonna get two more movies that are gonna be about him working for Jabba and moving up in the ranks and like becoming more of a smuggler or whatever. What do you think about that exact thing? What do you think about the? Yeah, it was. I kind of feel like it was a bit of a retcon as to why the name is so cheesy. Like George Lucas wrote this movie and he's like, I'm gonna write this renegade loner character. His name's gonna be his name's gonna be Solo. Like, you know, that's true. But let's face it, in those movies, Chewie's not considered a person. In those movies, this movie he was well, and even in this movie he wasn't treated that way by most people. Han treated him well, um, but the Wookiees aren't really considered people in this universe. Um, that's why Wookiee. That's why um, they don't give him a medal at the end. They he's just standing. They it's such a sad thing at the end of the first Star Wars. They give Han and Luke medals, and Chewie's standing right next to them, and they just don't give him a medal. So shitty. Like how unwoke is the Star Wars universe? It's like so bad. It really is. It's pretty bad. Um, yeah. I'd like to know what the first three are. I hate to I hate to be this guy, but I've really enjoyed these new movies a lot. And being a person who's not a big Star Wars fan, I don't have all that affection built up for those first three. You know, the Ridge Tridge. Yeah, and I like for the most part I like Rogue One, Solo, and Last Jedi are probably like my favorite Star Wars movies. Yeah, the trilogy. Oh, nicely done. Nicely done. Um, it's pretty impressive wordplay there, sir. So that's all the feedback we got, right? Right. I just figure a lot of our listeners who are keeping up with the Marvel Cinematic Universe probably also watch Star Wars. So, um, yeah, man, they do it. They do it. I watch pretty much every nerd movie that comes out. I don't know when we'll do this again. You guys let us know what you think about these bonus episodes. We've got nothing but positive feedback yet, but I can understand. So, well, we got one guy in our Facebook group who I don't think even listens to the podcast complaining that we're spamming him because we're a Marvel Cinematic Universe thing and we posted about Deadpool. And I was like, yeah, it was weird. Um, right. Yeah. So we're talking about what our podcast is doing, which is, granted, going outside of universe. So as long as our listeners are happy with us doing these bonus episodes, then that's great. So if as long as there's nobody out there who feels, I mean, and as long as there's not a lot of people who feel that way. So if you are out there feeling like, what the f? Why are they talking about something that's not Marvel Cinematic Universe? Let us know. But if you are enjoying us doing this every once in a while, we watch these movies anyway, and it's kind of fun to cast about them. So, uh, wow. Is it next week? I thought it was, okay. I thought it was June 7th or something like that. Okay. I guess that is kind of next week. No, next week, well, it's 2 weeks from now. About. Right, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, but it is like 12 days away, which is closer to 2 weeks than 1 week, is all I'm getting at. When you said next week, I was like, dang, is it that soon? Because June's, when is, when is, Luke Cage dropping? June 22nd. So we'll have a couple weeks of Cloak and Dagger, and then we'll get, which we still don't know if it's in the MCU, we're just assuming, right? It's kind of like Runaways. Oh, is it? Okay. Well, if that all ties it together, then it's in there. Um, I was just curious. Because Runaways never really was mentioned anything from the MCU. Uh, but they also didn't. They only made a few things that maybe meant it and it wasn't. So we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. Which technically could have happened. Yeah. Anyway, that's all from us today. We'll be back with you this week. To probably, I don't know what we're covering this week. It's probably some news and feedback, and um, I feel like we got to do. We're doing something. Well, I'm hoping so. Honestly, we've got 3 people who haven't done them yet, and none of them have gotten their commissions into us yet. So I need to write them all and figure out who wants to do a commission. Anyway, we'll be back this week, probably with a commissioned podcast and with just kind of a news and feedback roundup. Thanks for checking out our solo Star Wars story episode. This was fun. Yeah, I thought that was fun. Thanks. It was. Um, yes. All right, guys. Well, we are the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. Hit us up at mcucast.com, at mcucast on Twitter, facebook.com/mcucast, mcucast@gmail.com, or call us at 573-CAST-MCU to leave a voicemail. If you'd like to be involved in any of that, that'd be wonderful. We love to hear your feedback. And if you'd like to support the show, check us out at patreon.com/MCUcast. It's the final couple days of our second round of swag. So if you sign up now, you will get the second round of swag. So check that out. That would be awesome. Thank you everyone who's already subscribed this last week. We've got a lot of new subscribers. We'll probably mention all your names on the next cast. Thank you so much. We'll be back real shortly. Yes, yes. If you're a Twitch user, or even if you're not, we've been getting a lot of Twitch subscribers in this first couple of weeks of doing the streaming thing. Okay, sorry, followers. We need followers on Twitch so we can move up in the ranks over there. So we can start this live. This live thing has been interesting. If you don't know, we're doing live stream on both Twitch and YouTube. Today, Twitch wouldn't work for some reason, so we're only on YouTube. But we're hoping to get it all worked out, and we will be with you doing Twitch and YouTube in the very near future. It's gonna be cool, and so you can watch the show live, and you get to see our beautiful faces. We're voguing right now, voguing on camera. Okay. Vogue, 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 Vogue. All right. Yeah. Oh, you're getting in my light hand. All right. Jeff's gonna make a cherubic face, and we're gonna head out. Thank you very much. All right. So anybody, no YouTube comments, right? That we needed to cover or talk about. At one point, I saw at least 3, so 2 of those were probably us. Which this is still streaming to YouTube. So hey, everybody. I don't know if anybody caught this live, but cool. The cool thing about YouTube is I think it saves it as a video. Oh, great, 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 great. Cool. Well, people will be able to watch this later, which is neat. Bad green screen today. All right, I gotta get on editing this. I'm gonna get it done before cast. So thank you everybody still watching or going to watch in the future on YouTube. Appreciate y'all. We'll be back very soon. Peace.